Jake Patterson, who killed Jayme Closs' parents and kidnapped her, gets life in prison. Video by CBS Minnesota. Barron, Wisconsin. Jayme Closs on Friday urged a judge to deliver a life sentence to Jake Patterson, the young man who killed her parents in their western Wisconsin home, before abducting the 13-year-old and holding her captive for nearly 3 months until her escape. Barron County District Judge James Babler heard the pleadings of the teen and members of her family, and sentenced the 21-year-old Patterson to life in prison without the possibility of parole. "I was shocked by the brutalness," said Babler, pointing out he has never seen a more horrifying crime in his decades as an attorney and judge. "There is no doubt that Jayme Closs made her feelings known in a statement read by a court representative, which said in part for Patterson to hear, 'I felt like what he did was what a coward would do. I was brave.'" Patterson pleaded guilty in March to the violence that unfolded in the middle of an October night on the outskirts of Barron and gripped a nation during the time Jayme was missing and for weeks after her January escape from the Patterson family cabin near Gordon, Wisconsin, about an hour north of here. "Last October, Jake Patterson took a lot of things that I love away from me," were James' words, read by attorney Chris Gramstrup. "It makes me the most. They did all they could to make me happy and protect me. He took them away." Jayme added that to this day, going out in public makes her afraid and anxious. "But there are some things that Jake Patterson can't take away," her statement declared. "He can't own me." Speaking to how she fled her captor when the opportunity came, Jayme explained to the court, "I was smarter. I watched his routine. I will always have my freedom, and he will not." Jake Patterson, when his turn came to speak to the court more than 90 minutes into the proceeding, Patterson said, while choking back his emotions, "I'll just say that I would do, life, absolutely anything to take back what I did. I would die." The prosecution's case for a life sentence followed with District Attorney Brian Wright's detailed account of the killings and how Patterson pulled Jayme out of bathroom where her mother was fatally shot before her eyes, at one point dragging the girl through her father's blood near the front door. Among a few new details disclosed about Jayme's captivity, Wright revealed that Patterson yelled and threatened the teen if she failed to follow his rules and at times hit her with a curtain rod. With each step she took to escape, Wright said, the terror of not knowing where he was got more and more intense. Was he in the house? In pressing his case for locking up Patterson forever, Wright said, the defendant will stop at nothing to get what he wants if he is ever released from prison. The need to protect. Patterson sat in his jail orange garb listening to each statement and the specifics of the killings, kidnapping and the months he kept Jayme captive. His shoulders were slouched and his head bowed much of the time. Before he spoke, speaking for the defense, attorney Charles Glynn said he understood his client would receive a life sentence, but also described Patterson as someone who was acting on his loneliness and not showing a pattern of behavior that would escalate in severity. Glynn urged the court to give Patterson credit for quickly admitting to the killings and abduction, and provide his client with therapy and other opportunities while in prison that inmates sentenced to life are not typically afforded. He has taken responsibility for what he has done, Glynn said, adding that Patterson refused any plea with insanity as a defense. He has accepted it. Even so, Glynn asked the judge to at least consider some far-off chance for parole. Co-defense attorney Richard Jones also made the case against the certainty of Patterson dying in prison, saying his client had never before been in trouble with the law beyond a parking ticket and lashed out after lifelong aimlessness and overreacted to his loneliness. When the defense attorneys first met Patterson, Jones continued, we found him to be direct, intelligent, honest with us and remorseful. We found him to be count by count. Jones asked for a sentence that would set Patterson free when he is 100 years old. The hearing started with several brief victim impact statements from relatives of the Closses. Sue Allard, James' aunt, began by recalling the worst phone call that she could receive when authorities told her that her sister, Jayme Closs, was dead, and niece Jayme abducted. "I was hoping I was just waking up from a nightmare," Allard said, wrapping up her statement by urging the judge to give Patterson the maximum sentence possible on each count. Another aunt, Jennifer Smith, addressed Patterson directly, saying it hurts so bad. "We no longer get." Smith also asked the judge to give Patterson a lifetime in prison to pay for all the evil you have done. "I am at ease that my brother did not suffer but mad as hell that he didn't have a chance," Mike Closs said. Jeff Closs added, "If he could have gotten his hands on him, it would have been different." Jayme had made no public statements since her escape in January, and she has made only a few public appearances, most recently during a recognition at the Wisconsin State Capitol in her honor. There was little question about Patterson's sentence. Each homicide, Patterson told authorities in the hours after his arrest in January that he picked Jayme at random, snatching her on October 15 after spotting her boarding a school bus weeks earlier and deciding to take her. According to a criminal complaint charging him with the crimes, Patterson drove to the Closs home, shot Jayme Closs at the front door, then shot Denise Closs in the bathroom while she was barricaded with Jayme. Patterson said he then stuffed Jayme into the trunk of his car and drove north to his family's cabin near Gordon, where he kept the girl for nearly 3 months, hiding her under a bed when people visited. Jayme escaped the afternoon of January 10 after Patterson left the house for several hours. With the help of a woman, copyright 2019 Star Tribune Minneapolis. Visit the Star Tribune Minneapolis at www.startribune.com. Distributed by Tribune Content Agency, LLC.
Raindrop, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.